like it's just lit. Like women's basketball, the game, how far it's come, the excitement, the attention. Maybe I'll start with you, Kels, because Lord Jesus, your team and their fans,
Jesus,
they be getting up in everybody's business.
Okay, so it finally happened. Someone in the Indiana Fever locker room had enough, and not just anyone. Kelsey Mitchell, one of the most respected and longest-standing members of the team, just called out the nonsense. Why? Because Cha Agwam opened her mouth again, and this time she went way too far with her little jabs at Caitlin Clark.
Nay she's a whole lot to take in. I mean, a little bit goes a long way. She's just really loud and really kind of obnoxious for lack of a better word. And I don't mean obnoxious like just people who are obnoxious and they're just insulting people all over the place and that kind of thing.
And that kind of thing, you know, the type. She started with her usual sly sarcasm, those kinds of comments that sound like jokes on the surface, but are clearly meant to cut deeper. While Kelsey didn't laugh, she responded. And it wasn't just some weak PR response either. It was fierce, it was bold, it was personal. Mitchell stood tall, not just for Caitlin Clark, but for every player on the Fever's roster who's been dragged into this media circus only to have their integrity questioned.
It's your team and their fans.
Jesus,
They be getting up in everybody's business.
Hey, wait. I just noticed that. Your team and their fans, they be getting up in everybody's business. So not just the fans, but it's a dig on the team.
This wasn't just a teammate tossing a quick line of support. Kelsey came with receipts, clarity, and fire. Her message was loud and clear. You don't come for Caitlin Clark. You definitely don't disrespect the Indiana Fever family and their fans. And yes, this entire moment is absolutely going viral for all the right reasons.
And then going to be in NECA. How have you guys experienced? Is there like a moment that you like think of when it comes to the explosion of the game and how it has changed the game?
It all started when Cha Agwam launched one of her infamous half-kidding zingers during a media segment. She tossed out a line dripping with condescension, Lord Jesus, your team. And their fans, they be getting up in everybody's business. You know, the kind of comment meant to sound breezy. But it's clearly aimed at riling up Fever fans, and more specifically trying to belittle Caitlin Clark's impact.
How the question was phrased, Lord Jesus, your fans. Once again, pushing the narrative that there's something wrong with Indiana Fever fans. I don't like that has become the accepted belief about the Fever fans. But Kelsey Mitchell is a professional, and before long, well, she's going to kind of put them in their place in a way they didn't like, I'm sure.
But here's the thing, Fever fans have been showing up in record numbers. Clark has brought unmatched energy and national attention to the team, yet rather than praise that growth, Cha chose to paint it as a nuisance. The undertone of her comment that Indiana and its supporters are somehow too loud, too bold, and too much for the league's liking. Let's be honest, this wasn't a neutral observation. This was a subtle attempt to push the tired narrative that Caitlin's presence is somehow a burden rather than a boost to women's basketball. And that's where Kelsey Mitchell had enough.
I think I've seen both sides of it. For one, like being on a team with like Caitlin and knowing that some of the stuff and the wave that she created for like, as you know, where the game is and what she's been a part of, like as far as this process.
When Kelsey got the chance to respond, she didn't hold back. She was poised, calm. But you could hear the edge in her voice. She didn't need to raise it. She didn't need to insult anyone. All she had to do was speak the truth, and wow, it hit hard. I've seen so much of it. And so I think for me lately was the shift in moments in Indiana, period. As far as like the arena, where we started, NBB was my vet kind of right kind of we up there sis, we up there she. She was a Fever girl first. And so she also saw, and you know she's a vet too. They've seen what Indiana was. And I think now where it's at now, the big moment is seeing the shift and being a part of it from a standpoint of, I know where Indiana was. And so to see the cultivation of it, you just grow to appreciate the process. And you know the growth in which the game is going. Cha tossed out a question clearly meant to avoid. Crediting Caitlin directly, she asked Kelsey if there was a moment this year when the rise of women's basketball became obvious, clearly fishing for a diplomatic safe answer, but instead Kelsey hit her with the truth. I think the rise of women's basketball has a lot to do with Caitlin. Clark, boom, just like that.
There's the face. There's the face again. Okay? Now, let me get closer so you can see my face better. There's the face again. She's asking about the explosion of women's basketball, and Kelsey Mitchell doesn't waste any time to mention Caitlin Clark and what she has created. It's not what Shanae wants to hear. It's not what the media, ESPN media, the WNBA, the old guard, it's not what they want to hear, because they're continuing to tell us that it's not Caitlin Clark who has created anything in the league.
The moment Kelsey said Caitlin's name, you could almost see Choff Lynch that polished media smile. She wears so well, it slipped just a little, because here's the reality people like Chenny and the legacy media voices behind her, Elle Duncan, Monica McNutt, Cheryl Swoops. They've spent the last few months doing backflips trying to avoid giving Clark her due. Remember when one of them even admitted to the jealousy?
Okay. To me, yeah, jealous, sure. I mean, would you be jealous of somebody that got $28 million a shoe deal or whatever the deal is before you step foot in the pros, right? Yeah.
They don't want to admit it, because doing so means acknowledging that a rookie is currently the most important name in the WNBA, and that doesn't fit their narrative. So instead, they push these weird coded messages about Clark's fans being too much or her attention being overblown, or that she's not yet proven. But Kelsey wasn't having it. She stepped into that studio with a message for all of them.
Only women that get this. I'm tired of it. Like, here's my thing, you guys. What else? Who are these girls? Who are these girls that are hating on Caitlin Clark? Are you just combing through Twitter? Stop acting like because you see some randos on Twitter knocking Caitlin Clark, all girls are against.
And let's be real, Kelsey Mitchell is no pushover. This is someone who's been grinding in this league long before Clark arrived. She's faced every kind of defense, every kind of media slight, and still managed to be one of the most consistent offensive weapons in the game. She didn't need to say anything about Caitlin Clark, but she chose to. That's leadership. The way she said it, too firm, unapologetic, and rooted in facts, sent shockwaves through the conversation. You could see it on Shaw's face. The interview started with light-hearted banter. By the end, it was a masterclass in media judo. Every attempt to deflect or reframe Caitlin's impact was countered by Kelsey's honesty.
I think for me, if I can give or drop any form of advice based off experience, is that all money is not good money. And I mean that literally. I've seen myself in situations where I had to figure out if I wanted to come back to Indy. I had to figure out what was best for me. I lost my parent. So it was like figuring out what I needed, and I figured out that you have to go where you're literally loved. And I mean that literally, and I mean that intentionally. Go where you're loved and not tolerated, because all money is not good money.
And let's not forget how much Caitlin Clark has supported Kelsey Mitchell on and off the court. While the media spotlight's been locked on her, Caitlin used her platform to shout out her backcourt partner. She said Kelsey should have been named Player of the Month on numerous times instead of her. She called her one of the main reasons for Indiana's recent resurgence. And more importantly, she credited Kelsey for helping her grow in her rookie year.
Like Kels probably should have got a little love. I honestly thought she probably should have been Player of the Month. Just what she was doing, and at the clip she was doing it, I think she was like 50, 40, 90 this month, which is really, really hard to do. So I feel very fortunate to play with her, and honestly, I'm not even trying to be corny. Like, I really think she deserved it. So I think sharing that with her, and I feel lucky to have, a kind of a backcourt mate that has been, through this for 7 years and has really helped me and kind of let me flourish.
Think about that, the biggest player in the sport turning the spotlight around and aiming it directly at her teammate. That's real chemistry. That's mutual respect. And that's exactly why Kelsey felt compelled to clap back when someone tried to cheapen what they've built in Indiana. This isn't just about two teammates having each other's backs. This is about changing the narrative. This is about pushing back against the constant attempts to water down the Fever's success, to discredit Caitlin Clark's rise, and to silence the fans who are showing up, tuning in, and making noise like never before.
I'm a Fever girl again. I'm a Fever girl. I'm excited. Kind of missed this court. Yeah, I'm a fever girl again. A lot of went into this decision based on what I needed for myself and for obviously for my family, my friends. And India's a second home, so I thought I'd give this thing a go.
So to all the legacy media figures who keep throwing shade, be careful. The Fever are not only building a championship team on the court, they're building a family off of it. And if Kelsey Mitchell has anything to say about it, you're not going to get away with dragging their name through the mud anymore.
First of all, thanks for being here. Thanks for showing Kelsey how important she is to the Indiana Fever.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, so everything about Kelsey Mitchell is core, right? Core values, her core basketball, everything about her is what we're about. And so there was no way.
When Kelsey Mitchell steps onto the court, she doesn't just bring talent, she brings history, loyalty, and the kind of commitment that builds legacies. So when longtime WNBA and NBA executive Kelly Krakoff took a moment to publicly highlight Kelsey's impact, it wasn't just a compliment, it was a reminder to everyone of who really held this Indiana Fever franchise together through the ups and downs in a league constantly chasing the next big thing. Mitchell has been the glue holding it all in place for 7 seasons. No flash, no theatrics, just consistent excellence and unwavering belief in the team. Let's figure out where this program's going.
Figure out where this program's going, what we're trying to accomplish, and based on the way in which I like to see myself playing. I could do that with people like Caitlin, people like AB, people like Liz. The list goes on with Lexi Hall, Grace Berger. So I'm excited about the group we have. And I get to play alongside some really great people. So here's to being a Fever girl.
Even during the most difficult stretches, when the Fever were struggling to find wins, Kelsey remained a constant force. While the spotlight drifted to newer stars and fresh faces, she kept showing up, pouring her heart into every game, every practice, every fan interaction, that kind of loyalty you don't see it every day. And now that the Fever are experiencing a much-needed resurgence, it's time people start connecting the dots. This rise didn't happen in a vacuum. It was built brick by players like Mitchell who weathered the storm and stayed committed when it would have been easier to walk away.
I'm excited about our future, but I would never change my past. I know what I had to do to get to this point, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Tosses ahead, Wheeler extra feed. Oh, that was pretty. Plus the foul.
I'm very grateful to be one of the ones that, put the bricks down.
Mitchell finished top 10 in the league in scoring in 2020, 2021, again in 2022, for a 4th straight time in 2023, and you guessed it, top 10 in scoring in the 2024 season.
Kelsey didn't stick around for the attention. She stayed because this team means something to her. Indiana isn't just a place she plays, it's a second home. And for a player who's been here through losing seasons and locker room rebuilds, this new chapter isn't just exciting, it's personal. She's surrounded now by a younger core: Caitlin Clark, Lexi Hall, Aaliyah Boston. But her leadership is what gives this team stability.
Big performances have become a staple of hers. Mitchell owns the top 3 highest scoring performances in Fever history. Mitchell ranks 2nd all-time in franchise history in career points, field goals made, 3-pointers made, and free throws. She's played in the 3rd most games in franchise history and is 4th all-time in career assists.
Then came Chawake, stepping into the conversation with the kind of smug confidence that seems to follow legacy media figures who think they've got the final word on everything. Her comments toward the Indiana Fever, and by extension their fans, felt condescending and unnecessary. She cracked jokes, made side remarks, threw shade at the passionate Fever fan base, as if it were a nuisance rather than one of the main reasons for the league's current popularity spike. It wasn't a conversation, it was a backhanded dismissal wrapped in faux professionalism too.
Fans, I think you guys are a big part of my decision, a part of Indiana being home for me. The fans have also grown to be, family for me. So knowing what the atmosphere feels like, some of the love that was poured into me down the stretch of last year, I feel great about it. So I'm grateful. I'm definitely grateful.
The second Caitlin Clark's name left Kelsey's mouth, It was like a jolt to the system. That single moment popped the balloon of carefully curated media spin for months. ESPN and its WNBA insiders have worked overtime trying to position Clark's arrival as just one small piece of a larger story. They've tried to credit everything and everyone else for the league's surge. Television deals, merch, historic franchises, anything to avoid giving one player too much shine. Why? Because Caitlin Clark threatens to reshape not only the WNBA, but also the hierarchy of who controls the story.
They asked about the explosion. Somehow she didn't expect Kelsey to acknowledge the CC effect, the Caitlin Clark effect, especially after she started off by trying to be disrespectful, by being disrespectful to the Fever team and the fans. But Kelsey Mitchell kept it real, and I could sense that it was awkward. It was an awkward moment for her, because it was sort of like, Caitlin, like what?
But Kelsey Mitchell didn't just tell the truth. She exposed a gap between the league's reality and the media's narrative. Lobbed her a softball question. Kelsey hit it out of the park. Her recognition of Clark's impact wasn't just about giving props. It was a declaration that this Fever team, this fan base, and this moment in women's sports deserves to be taken seriously. And let's be clear, Mitchell wasn't just defending her teammate. She was standing up for the culture the Fever are building right now, a culture grounded in unity, resilience, and the kind of no-nonsense attitude that wins games and silences doubters. That mutual respect. It's real, and it's what gives Indiana an edge. Because this isn't just a team with talent, it's a team that believes in each other. It's why the Chen of the world can't quite grasp what's happening here. They're too busy spinning narratives to see the truth. Indiana isn't just riding a wave of hype. They're building something sustainable, something powerful, something built on the foundation Kelsey Mitchell helped lay.
It's so interesting to me because this is a great time, a great opportunity for the WNBA. But you get people like Shanae, who continues to say we, even though she does not play in the WNBA. But she is a representation of the media, how the media are, and how the media don't want to acknowledge what the Indiana Fever fans bring to this league.